So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Maybe we can start, but you can shortly introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers.
Okay. I'm a member of Polish Parliament, the deputy speaker of the lower chamber, the same lower chamber of Polish Parliament. I was elected for the first time. Before 20 years ago, I was the youngest member of parliament. Now I'm a leader of a national movement and one of the leaders of Polish Alternative Right Party, Confederation of Freedom and Independence. I was a presidential candidate in Poland 5 years ago. And now I try to develop a new right-wing movement, more critical to European Union and more sovereignty-oriented. Now our polls are somewhere between 10% and 20%. It depends on the poll.
Mm-hmm. And I think most people in the Netherlands, if they know much about Polish politics, they will think of PiS as the right-wing party. What would you say is the major difference between you two?
The major difference is that Law and Justice, PiS party in Polish, they are like a typical center-right party for Polish political spectrum, and we are more on the right. We use the term of idealistic rights or the right of ideas. Yes, ideological rights. So we are like a alliance of more nationalist right and more conservative libertarian right. And Law and Justice is rather Christian democratic, let's say conservative party, but there are also centrist people. So there are many differences on the level of agenda. We are much more Eurosceptic. We are more free market oriented. We are in favor of Polish sovereignty on everything. We don't want to make deals about Polish sovereignty, and they were making deals and permissions for EU to take some competences, for example, on finance, rule of law or climate policy. We are anti-mass immigration, and they opened the borders for legal mass immigration to Polish labor market. We are critical to Polish COVID policy. They were in government and they were introducing this COVID regulations, COVID policy, also about vaccination and lockdowns. We're totally against lockdowns. So, and we are much more politically incorrect if you analyze so-called social issues like LGBT, gender, globalism, international treaties. We are always against any progressive woke ideas, and they sometimes are silent, sometimes are in dialogue, sometimes do nothing when have power. So we criticize them for being too centrist.
And do you believe that you can grow in the polls in the future? Do you think there's room for you in Polish society in your ideals as a party?
It happened during local elections in 2018. Both parties that are now operate confederation had 1%. We had 1%, and conservative libertarians had the result of 1%. Now we together combined we have something like 15%. We entered parliament in 2019 with the result of 7%. So we developed the project, and it is possible to grow. It's obvious for us that if we will have next parliamentary elections, we'll have much more MPs, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 times more than now. So it's obvious for everybody who analyze Polish political scene that we grow. The question is how fast.
And what's the secret behind your growth, you think?
We are a different generation of politicians. The average age of Confederation politician is something between 30 and 40. Big part of our activists are 20-something, 30-something. Other political parties has the leadership and the leaders, especially in the age of our grandparents or parents at least. So it's a completely different generation. Then we are politically incorrect and honest on everything that we talk with people. We don't care about the opinion of the establishment, mainstream media. Of course, we are always ready to debates, but we don't care if they criticize us. We believe that it's a proof that we are honest. And other politicians want to be in the club of good boys, always correct on everything, and we don't like it. So and I believe that we better understand the interest of the people. Other political parties on many issues, they recognize rather interest of international organizations, some lobbies, other countries, but they do not put the interest of Polish people first in the voting, in the debate. And it's as easy as that. They do not change this. They still operate. Even on last voting session in the parliament, Law and Justice haven't voted in favor of against extending privileges for Ukrainian migrants in Poland. We were the only political party that voted against extending this to next year. We believe that we should have we should be like a host in our own country, yes, not giving everything to other nations. Yes, we understand that there is a war, there are refugees, but there is no other country in Europe that gave so much to other nations like Poland did, and we think enough is enough.
All right, I think that's a very, very clear distinction. And I'm curious, I've talked for our news channel also with some, you could say, people that are worried, conservatives in Poland, about what the Donald Tusk government is doing, how it's trying to silence conservatives. I talked to Ludo Loris, what's it called? The legal organization, I forgot the name.
Ordo Juris.
Ordo Juris, yes. I talked to them, for example, and they've been explaining and trying to ring the alarm bells of how much there's prosecution and censorship of conservative thought. I don't know how much you agree with that, and how bad you would say the situation is for conservatives in Poland.
There are, of course, attempts to do something against, especially against Law and Justice politicians, because Civic Platform, which is now in power, and Law and Justice, and the leadership, they hate each other. So when they are in power, they try to use this power against other party. So now it's time of revenge of Civic Platform against Law and Justice. So it's not against every conservative, it's rather against Law and Justice, some Law and Justice politicians and their allies. I think it's unjust. Sometimes they made some things that were not good, and of course there should be responsibility, but in a proper legal way. Not every prosecution is revenge. Sometimes it's about public money, sometimes it's about procedures, but of course new government is breaking the law, and they have the permission, unofficial permission from European institutions to do so. So in my opinion, the rule of law and all this discussion, there was a big debate during Law and Justice government about rule of law in Poland. It's not in a good condition. It's not the fault of one political party. It's the fault of all political establishment and a little bit of Polish history, because we had communism, as you know, and we haven't, there was no decommunization of Polish courts, of prosecutors' office, all the legal system. So we can't analyze this issue not seeing the history, not seeing the biography of the people. And there are some bad things about new government. There are also some bad things about previous government. But I believe that the situation, overall situation in Poland, is still much better than any other European country. When we take free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom for conservative organization, crowdfunding, fundraising, campaigning, we still can operate and do whatever we want. There are some exceptions, especially people who were involved in judiciary system during Law and Justice government, and they are in big conflict with current government, especially Minister of Justice. But 90%, even 99, I would say, even 99% of conservative people in Poland can operate freely.
It's a
and
good,
can exercise freedom of speech. We do not have such problems like in England, for example. I hope that in your country there is also still freedom of speech.
I would say maybe a little bit between Poland and the UK. We're not as good. There's tension definitely with freedom of speech. I think we see that, like you said, in a lot of Western European countries. Germany also has a lot of these issues. We're not as bad as UK and Germany, but we're might slowly go there. So it is worrying for everyone.
I think that the situation is mixed and difficult to describe in many European countries, because there are examples for every statement, yes, that there is a threat for freedom of speech, and you have many examples, but at the same time you have many people who exercise freedom of speech and operate freely, and it's also possible.
Definitely. I'm also curious, of course, we are in Hungary here at MCC Fest. A lot of conservative voices from across North America and Europe are here together. What do you see about... We see often this talk, that there's this conservative wave coming. We saw it with the election of Donald Trump. We see it in other countries that conservatives are gaining more power politically, but also culturally. There's some skepticism for some people. So where do you stand? Are we actually seeing a conservative wave?
I would not say so. In my opinion, it was always an exaggeration, especially of left, liberal or leftist commentators, authors, columnists. They would like to build such a description that there's a wave of nationalism, there's a wave of populism, because they need it. They need it to react and to take funds to defend democracy, defend liberal values, and so on. I travel across Europe. We are in a Patriots Network in the European Parliament. We also attend conferences of other networks. And from my opinion, there is a constant level of activism, and maybe there is a growth of political parties in some countries in European Union, but it's not majority. We are still far away from being in many governments. For now, it's maybe one or two governments in Europe that you have truly right-wing people inside, yes? And on social level, people are not mobilized and not very active. So right-wing activists, nationalist, conservative, there are still tiny minorities. So I would not say that we are witness of some conservative counter-revolution in Europe or something like that. Maybe in the future, when people will be more tired with this all European wrong policy, yes, but not now.
Why do you think it's the case? I think you can see already quite a lot of things are going quite bad. We have mass immigration, crime is going up because of it. We have economic problems due to climate policy. There are many things you can name that actually hits normal people in their daily lives. Why do you think we are then not seeing the conservative counter-revolution, as you called it?
Well, there are many factors. I think that in a big majority of European countries, we have, unfortunately, it's sad to say, but poor leadership on a social level and also on political level. Even right-wing politicians are, big part of them are hypocrites, dishonest people.
In what way?
In many ways. In many ways. For example, when they are in government, they do not govern in the way that they promised, yes? They govern in much weaker than their speeches. They are always ready to make some deals under the table, behind the scene. So it's very small minority of politicians who are truly brave and they are truly engaged in defending people's interests, not their position. So poor leadership on a political level, poor leadership on a social level. There are not many commentators, leaders of opinion who are brave and ready to fight with enemies and take the cost of being brave, yes, because it's not easy.
Of course.
To be honest, it's not easy. You have many risks in your professional field when you work. In some countries, even if you're in your security, left-wing rioters could attack you. Even maybe some jihadist movements in some countries. So we need brave leaders. And another factor is that people are the big part of societies live good life in a good economic situation, and they are not motivated to change anything. Yes, they are not happy about different layers of policy making, but they are not ready to use their time and then their money to change it. It's not a revolutionary situation. The situation in Europe is still quite good in many countries.
Yes.
And when it is going bad in some countries, you have 1 year or a few years of protests, and then people are tired about protesting. Some most radical go to jail or have some accusations, and then they are not so fast to do something more. And this is how system operates. Yes, the small minority which is active, they are going tired, and the rest is quite calm. And of course, establishment is always ready to attract some leaders to take to their circles and to also to change the agenda. For example, mainstream parties like center-right parties, but even center-left, like in Poland, Civic Platform, are taking our slogans, are taking our narrative and introduce it to their narrative. For example, now Civic Platform and Prime Minister Tusk, they are in favor of securing borders. When they were in opposition or European institutions, they were against. When Law and Justice was in government, we were the only one opposition party that voted in favor of securing the borders against illegal immigration. But now, when they are in the power, they took everything, and now they don't care so much about human rights. And people see, well, we don't need to vote for Confederation. We can vote for them, and they use the same narrative. Yes, so I don't like the term system. Yes, but the system is adopting to the situation.
Yes. I'm curious, because you're talking about brave leaders. Do you feel that yourself are one of these brave leaders or not?
I try to be, yes, but it's a task for every politician and for every leader to be so. So I don't want to say good words about myself. Mm-hmm. I don't like it, but I think this is my duty, yes, yes. To be a sign of hope for my people, for my voters, and for other people in other countries, that it is possible to show better political leadership than the previous generation.
And has there been a cost? Because you said if you're trying to be brave, there comes a cost. Have you in your own life experienced some cost to standing up for your ideals or not?
It's always the cost, of course. For me, it was 12 years break not being in parliament. I have some colleagues who at the same time were on the good positions in business or constantly in parliament and then on high positions in business. And because of my idealistic approach, I was only for 2 years in parliament as a youngest MP, then 3 terms outside the parliament trying to build something with people who were on social level, and we were treated as completely political margin, far right or something, that normal politicians don't care about. And it was like a surprise for everybody that we entered to parliament as a coalition of right-wing movements in 2019. Before we built new political parties, but it was like 1% or 2%. So this is the cost. Yes, you have to be ready that you will work, for example, 10 years, not being in parliament. And if you are ready, you are independent. But if your main agenda is to be always in parliament or to be always on high positions in institutions, you will be not independent and you will be not brave, because you have to be very pragmatic and very centrist to be always on a good position.
That's interesting. But the security-wise, things have been good so far, or not, for you personally?
I don't understand the question.
Like you also said,
about security.
Yes, have you had threats? Yeah, have you had threats since you...
In Poland, situation is quite good from this perspective. Fortunately, this more violent, radical left-wing people operates rather in Western countries. In Poland, they are, I would say, quite weak when you compare with Germany or other countries. And I think police and security agencies, they're doing their job. So, for example, if any radical organization would attack some political activists or some manifestation, they would react. Yes, there would be no policy of looking in a different direction and doing nothing. We have of course, some radicals from the left and sometimes from the right. But I would say that also Polish nation is a rather peaceful nation. We do not have even extremists, truly extremists, people who like to attack somebody severely. People in Poland rather would like to show what they think in more democratic way. So, for example, do counter manifestation, but not attack other people.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's very good. I think we are a civilized society, especially on this matter of political debate. Yes, unfortunately we had two examples of somebody killing, murdering another politician or political activists, but it was very separated. And people who did it, they were not connected with any political movement. So it was rather like separated criminals or separated...
lone wolves, you mean, basically?
Even they had problems maybe with their mind.
Yes.
Not motivated by political radicalism, but fortunately we haven't seen in Poland terrorist attacks. Maybe it's a grace of God for now, because we are still quite open as a country. We have many immigrants. It's not like that there are no immigrants in Poland. There are hundreds of thousands now, also not from Europe. But for now they are peaceful, and maybe there were some attempts, but Polish Internal Security Agency is doing their job, and there was not even one big or even small terrorist attack in Poland.
And you also mentioned a label that we see very often, which is far right. What do you think about the fact that people would call you or your organization far right?
I believe it's inaccurate. I would not say that I don't care, because if you are in politics, you should care. And if you are branded far right, a big majority of influential people will afraid to talk with you, and it's impossible to be effective politician. So I do not describe myself as a far right. I believe that if you're far right, you say something radical, you are dangerous for somebody, you are not in line with legal system, you do something radical. Yes, we work in a democratic way. Our agenda is not radical. In fact, it's preserving the, let's say, ecosystem, political, social ecosystem that we have in Poland. We don't want to change it in any radical way. We want our life and our state and our nation to be as it is, because we are happy how it works and how it looks like, and we would like to improve it. So this is the typical conservative agenda.
For sure.
So I would say it is inaccurate, but of course political correct left wing and liberal media. They don't care about the facts. They care about their opinions. Yes. So if you do not accept their agenda, for them you are far.
And I really want to thank you for having this interview. And then let's say people want to follow your work. Where could they do this?
Well, you can follow me in social media. Unfortunately, I write only in Polish. I have also on X English account, but I write there very rarely. But you can use always this translation.
Yes.
So it's quite good now, I think. So you can follow Confederation National Movement, me personally, my colleagues also from European Parliament, on social media, especially on X, also on Facebook. We every day publish our work, our also photos from our work. So I think you have a lot of information about what we do, and it's always better to analyze what we do last week, last month, than to read only Wikipedia.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.